Well, what we understand from Bubi Lupane here is that despite their stellar performance, especially in the wheat production, where each of the 90 families was supposed to receive $800 per head as dividend, that has been reduced substantially because there is a penalty payment because of the interest that is accruing on an account that they've not been able to service because they've not been paid by GMB, because GMB has not received money from Treasury. So it's something that we want AFC and ARDA to be able to resolve, and the government will facilitate this meeting next week. But coming specifically to the crop here and what they've been doing year in, year out, you can see that increasingly they are beginning to get the confidence to produce the various crops in this very harsh environment. And clearly, going forward with the agronomic and scientific methods of farming that we've introduced here, we think that this will be a very profitable business. It is in this regard that we are anticipating and contemplating an expansion of this project to at least 480 hectares irrigable, and concomitantly to be able to look at agro processing for rural industrialization, to be able to produce meal, to be able to produce cooking oil, and to be able to produce bread. Fully self-sufficient in terms of mechanization, and in this regard we will facilitate their access to mechanization equipment so that they can be fully independent. And I'm very pleased that they continue to work amicably. If we resolve the cash flow challenges associated with the penalty interest rates by AFC, we will be on our way to assuring this irrigation scheme business unit of its viability into the future. So clearly this was a new business model. The president enunciated Vision 2030, and that Vision 2030 ought to be powered by agriculture, because 68% of our population is in rural areas and they do agriculture on a daily basis. So it is agriculture that ought to power themselves out of poverty towards Vision 2030. So we'd come up with an innovation that left no one and no place behind. And the proof of concept was here, where we took the harshest environment to do a proof of concept, and clearly it shows that even in this harsh environment you can grow crops profitably. My expectation therefore is that of the 460 irrigation schemes dotted around the country, we have now handed over to ARDA 390 schemes. We are slightly behind. We hoped to conclude the handover by 31st December 2023. This handover process will then ensure that they are run as businesses. All the irrigation schemes were established in companies. So these are companies whose shareholding is by villagers, and so they own an asset. But more importantly, they are also the workers, so they are paid on a monthly basis. At the end of the cropping cycle, they are paid a dividend, and we've seen that this model can be successfully replicated, and that is what we want to see. We are complementing this model with other interventions. There are places where there is no river, there is no dam, but they also want to develop. So no one and no place is left behind. That's why we're now complementing this with a village business unit that will lead to rural industrialization, and rural industrialization will lead to rural development. Rural development will catalyze the attainment of Vision 2030. Yes, clearly, as the cabinet in its wisdom concede that the perennial delays occasioned by cash flow problems within government to be able to finance farmers for their deliveries to GMB. So we are approaching it from two levels. First is called the structured liberalization of marketing of products, where off-takers and contractors are obligated to purchase their production. We have also introduced the Zimbabwe Commodity Exchange to provide another platform where sales can take place. But within the government system, whatever has been delivered to GMB, so that we are not held up and farmers are not inconvenienced by these delayed payments, we're establishing what we are calling a crop purchase buffer fund at AFC, and it's going to be funded by another innovation that we've put in that we have established a land bank, and we're giving AFC some land which they will develop and be able to sell as developed land to create this $50 million crop purchase buffer fund. So AFC in due course will be able to intervene and purchase all the crop that has been delivered at GMB, for which Treasury has not been able to pay for cash flow reasons, and then they get a warehouse receipt for it. they will be able to dispose of the warehouse receipt at a profit or dispose of it to treasury, and then they can replenish this crop purchase buffer fund. So if you look at the magnitude, the 50 million, the current owing amount to farmers is 44 million. So if we had established this earlier, we would have cleared all the debts that we owe to farmers, and farmers would have resources to be able to go into the field because summer is upon us. What we want to do is to be able to produce under this model 500,000 metric tons of cereals starting this year. So whether it rains or it doesn't rain, this country must be able to get from the assurance that we've created from ARDA being the food security agent for the country to produce 500,000 metric tons. So this is the innovation that we are bringing. But let me cap it by indicating that the biggest challenge that we face is the gap between the potential irrigable area and what we've irrigated. We need 350,000 hectares available for summer for irrigation so we can produce consistently 1.8 million to 2 million metric tons of cereals to assure this nation of food security, whether it rains or not.